Welcome to a short video about decadence and Christianity. This is a quote. At the start of legislative sessions in the United States Senate, a daily prayer is typically offered by the Senate chaplain. On April 1947, Chaplain Peter Marshall spoke the following words: "O Father, we yearn for a better understanding of spiritual things, that we may know surely what thy will is for us and for our nation. Give us clear vision that we may know where to stand." And here's the kicker: for unless we stand for something, we shall fall for anything. So I'm watching this Jordan Peterson video, and it's really easy to see his appeal.
First, for our Dutch viewers who don't know you yet, how would you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm a psychologist and a researcher and a professor and an author and a business consultant and a speaker. And I don't know if that's the proper order. I have a family, I have a wife and children. That's me. I've become notorious or well-known because of my YouTube presence. I don't know exactly how you characterize someone like that. A media personality, a new media personality, I suppose. I have a very popular podcast and a very popular YouTube channel with 2 million subscribers and 1 million Twitter followers and 500,000 Facebook followers, and it's some insane number of social media contacts. And I've learned how to use that, I suppose, to some degree over the last 4 or 5 years, and
Use
it's
it for what?
exploded. Well, I mean, what I used it for to begin with, YouTube, was to put my lectures online because they were popular and because there was some interest from television stations in Canada, a small television station, and they were a small hit by the standards of such things. And I thought, well, there's YouTube. I don't know what the hell YouTube is for. How about I record my lectures and put them on YouTube and see what happens? Maybe I can teach thousands of people instead of dozens of people, and why not? So I set up an iPad and a lapel mic, for $200 and started to record my lectures. And they became very popular even before all the political scandal enveloped me. And then, well, in 2016, I objected to legislation that was brought in by the Canadian federal government, had already been brought in by the provincial governments, mandating certain forms of, not only certain forms of speech, but certain forms of conceptualization about what constitutes sex and gender. And I felt that it was unconscionable. There was no scientific justification for it. There is no logical justification for it. It's a completely incoherent doctrine and policy. I think it's dangerous beyond belief. I think it's an incredible intrusion on free speech. I know that the legislation is unprecedented in British common law history. And I also know that in the United States, the Supreme Court in 1942, I believe, expressly forbade precisely what the Canadian federal government did in 2016. And so because I objected to that, I got myself in a tremendous amount of political trouble because people assumed that I was bigoted against trans people and racist and homophobic and all the other things that you're tarred and feathered with if you dare to have an opinion that varies from the noisy virtue signaling minority. And after that, I think partly because I already had 300 YouTube videos up, things just exploded around me. And also I published a book in January of 2018, which added to the 2018? Yes, 2018, which it added to the general racket, let's say. And I found myself in a very strange position, traveling the world, I've traveled to 160 cities in the last year and spoken to about 350,000 people about personal responsibility and the meaning that is to be found in not in rights, but in responsibility. And no one seems to be talking about that for reasons I don't understand. And so people are starving to hear that, also for reasons I don't understand. So that's the situation now.
So what do people believe? It seems like Peterson is taking the suffering of young adults very seriously, and he believes that, and that's really, really relevant. So Peterson really cares about how other people exist, their quality of life. And he's telling them to take responsibility, improve your life. But at the same time, modern culture isn't really having that. We don't have a narrative in modern culture. We don't have the whole overarching meaning of things. We don't have like a consistent narrative for even religion. I mean, you can take religion or you can not take religion. It's just kind of optional as a part of the whole personal, just self-fulfillment narrative. You can take it or you can leave it. So in a way, your personal self-fulfillment is only really important to you. And bringing this back to Christianity, the narrative of like Calvinism, that could be considered as a decadent narrative because, you know, there's sinners, there's people who cannot be saved, and there's the people who are already saved who don't realize it. It's kind of a predestination thing. So it doesn't really matter if you can't really help the people who are damned. You know, that's just how it goes. And so when you're dealing with other people, does it really matter if you can't make a difference in their life? Well, they're already damned. That's kind of a decadence. And you go to David Bentley Hart's "All Can Be Saved." That is really kind of a kind of universalism. It's taking the Christ out of Christianity and just sort of trying to spread it all over to every religion. So in a way, that's another kind of decadence. And you have this universalism is like, well, you can get saved by any religion. Doesn't really matter how you go about it. Doesn't really. Everybody can have their religion, and if they want a little bit of religion, that's fine. If they want a lot of religion, that's fine. It's just sort of a decadent narrative. Again, it doesn't really matter what happens to you. And then I was exposed to a video on Arianism this week. And Arianism is about, well, Jesus isn't really the Logos, so we don't really have to take what Jesus said so absolutely seriously. After all, he was just Logos at one period of time. He's not Logos in every period of time. Just that one time in particular. So we don't have to take Jesus so seriously. So, and that doesn't really, so it doesn't really matter if you do this right or you do that right. I'm sure it fits into Logos somewhere. And all this stuff is just a kind of decadence. And when we're left with decadence, you can see Peterson talking about, you know, human beings are just a cancer on the planet.
They've watched my videos, they listen to my podcasts, they read my book. They were in desperate straits 6 months ago. They're doing much better. And so they're thankful about that and help and pleased that someone is offering them an encouraging word. Because I actually happen to be rather positively predisposed to people. And I think that's rare because in our culture we believe that we're something like a cancer on the planet.
Well, is that true? Is that just another narrative? How wrong is it? What does a Christian say to that? Does a Christian defeat that narrative, or what is it? Does it really matter? So just to wrap up, I mean, Peterson it wasn't his psychology that blew people away. It's that Peterson offered an answer to decadence. And you can't package Peterson's answer to decadence even any more than a care package is actually full of things that you need. You don't need a song about how people love each other, and you don't need a care package full of things that you already have. And thank you for watching the video.